First published in 1941 as part of the collection El Jardín de Senderos que se bifurcan, The Garden of Forking Paths, and later in Ficciones, 1944. Jorge Luis Borges's short story, The Garden of Forking Paths, is a brilliant metafiction that blends philosophy, literature, espionage, and metaphysics. The story uses a frame narrative and elements of detective fiction to meditate on the nature of time, free will, causality, and parallel realities. Widely regarded as one of the foundational texts of postmodern literature, Borges's tale challenges conventional narrative structure and linear storytelling. It reflects the author's deep engagement with philosophy, mathematics, theology, and labyrinths, both literal and symbolic. Framing device. The story begins with a pseudo-historical introduction, presenting the narrative as an excerpt from a letter found in a British intelligence file regarding a World War I espionage incident. The narrator of the letter is Dr. Yu Sun, a Chinese professor of English living in Germany and acting as a spy for the German army. Yu Sun knows he is being pursued by a British intelligence agent named Captain Richard Madden, who has already captured one of his fellow spies. Yu Sun is certain he will be arrested soon, but he believes he can still accomplish his mission, to convey the location of a British artillery base in Albert, France, to his German superiors. The mission and the journey. Knowing he is being followed, Yu Sun decides to leave his lodging and take a train to the village of Ashgrove, where he intends to find Dr. Stephen Albert, a sinologist. Albert shares the same surname as the town he intends to signal to the Germans, Albert, and this connection forms the crux of Yu Sun's plan. The journey is tense and urgent. Yu Sun feels the pressure of time, yet also reflects on philosophical questions about fate, memory, and reality. He carries with him a mysterious legacy, his great-grandfather Sui Pen, a Chinese governor who renounced his position to write a novel and construct a labyrinth. Upon his death, the novel was thought to be incoherent and the labyrinth never found. Dr. Stephen Albert and the Revelation. When Yu Sun arrives at Ashgrove and meets Dr. Albert, he is surprised to find that Albert knows about Sui Pen's work. Albert has been studying the fragmentary novel and has arrived at a revolutionary interpretation. The novel is The Labyrinth. Albert explains that Sui Pen's novel, long considered chaotic and senseless, actually embodies a radical conception of time. It posits that time is not linear but a series of forking paths. Every decision creates a new branch of possibility, and all outcomes occur simultaneously in parallel realities. Instead of a singular timeline, reality is a vast, ever-diverging tree of events. Albert's explanation is illuminating and elegant, capturing the essence of the Garden of Forking Paths. Yu Sun is momentarily awestruck by this insight. The climax and paradox. Immediately after Albert's explanation, Yu Sun pulls out a revolver and shoots him dead. It is a shocking and abrupt act, seemingly at odds with the philosophical depth of the preceding conversation. Yu Sun is then arrested by Captain Madden. However, the meaning of the murder becomes clear. By killing a man named Albert, and ensuring the news appears in the newspapers, Yu Sun has communicated the name of the British artillery base, Albert, to the German command. The murder was a coded message, his final act as a spy. Character analysis. Dr. Yu Sun. Yu Sun is a deeply conflicted and complex character. As a spy for Germany, he is betraying the British, where he resides, but also acting out of desperation and loyalty, not to the Germans, but to prove the worth of his race to a people who consider him inferior. His narrative voice is calm, intellectual, and philosophical, even in moments of mortal danger. He reflects deeply on his thoughts and actions, and while he commits murder, it is not out of malice but strategy. Yu Sun is also a symbol of metafictional authorship. His actions create a story with multiple meanings, much like his ancestor's novel. Dr. Stephen Albert. Albert is a scholar and philosopher, a kindred spirit to Borges himself. He appreciates Chinese culture and has solved the riddle of Sui Pen's book. His interpretation provides the metaphysical core of the story. That time is a garden of forking paths. Albert's demeanor is calm and hospitable, and his death is tragic not only in human terms but symbolic. He is the bearer of knowledge, killed to preserve secrecy in war. Captain Richard Madden. Madden represents linear time, authority, and the inevitability of history. Though he appears only peripherally, his relentless pursuit forces Yu Sun's hand. He is symbolic of the narrative's external pressure. A detective chasing a criminal. A man enforcing the real-world constraints against which the story's metaphysical ideas are staged. Sui Pen. Though long dead, Sui Pen haunts the story. He represents artistic and philosophical radicalism, a man misunderstood by his time. His dual project, a labyrinth and a novel, turn out to be one and the same, a metaphor for a new way of understanding time and narrative. Major themes. 1. Time as a multiverse. The central theme of the story is non-linear time, imagined as a labyrinth of diverging paths. Each decision or event leads not to one future, but to multiple, simultaneous futures. Borges draws from ideas in quantum mechanics and relativity, even before they were widely understood in literature. This garden of forking paths suggests that all possibilities coexist. In one world Yu Sun kills Albert. In another he is arrested before reaching him. In another he tells him the truth, or befriends him. The implications are vast. Free will, determinism, and destiny all become tangled in a web of infinite outcomes. 2. The nature of narrative. Borges uses fiction to comment on fiction itself. The story is metafictional, a story about stories. Sui Pen's novel is both an actual book and a metaphor for the structure of the universe. Borges suggests that stories don't have to follow a linear plot. They can branch, overlap, and diverge endlessly. This idea anticipates hypertext literature, multiverse fiction, and modern nonlinear storytelling in games and cinema. Borges questions whether we are readers, authors, or characters in a larger cosmic text. 3. Fate and free will. The idea of parallel timelines poses a philosophical dilemma. Are our choices meaningful if all outcomes exist? Yu Sun chooses to kill Albert, but in some other branch, he might not. Does this absolve him of responsibility? The story blurs the line between volition and inevitability. Yu Sun's act is both predetermined and freely chosen, depending on the lens through which one reads the narrative. 4. Identity and duality. Yu Sun is both a scholar and a murderer, a victim and a traitor. Borges is fascinated with duality, self and other, reality and illusion, time and eternity. Yu Sun's story is also about cultural displacement. A Chinese man working as a spy for Germany, hiding in England, reflecting on the legacy of his ancestors' literature. His identity is fractured and unstable, just like the paths of time. 5. Labyrinths and infinity. The labyrinth is Borges's most enduring symbol. Here, it is embodied in both the physical journey, Yu Sun's travel to Ashgrove, and the conceptual structure of time and narrative. The infinite forking paths represent infinite possibility, but also confusion, terror, and loss of meaning. The more paths exist, the harder it is to choose, or to understand the significance of a choice. Symbolism and motifs. 1. The Garden of Forking Paths. The garden is not a literal location, but a symbol of temporal and narrative complexity. It represents a universe in which all paths are real, all decisions are enacted, and all outcomes unfold in different timelines. It is a philosophical metaphor for choice, simultaneity, and multiplicity. 2. The Book and the Labyrinth. Sui Pen's novel is The Labyrinth, a text so complex it defies linear reading. Borges uses it to challenge the notion of a coherent, singular narrative. The novel reflects Borges's belief that a book can be a map, a world, or even a universe. 3. Names and codes. Names, Yu Sun, Albert, Sui Pen, carry multiple meanings. Albert becomes a code, a trigger, a symbol. Borges shows how language can convey layered truths, often hidden in plain sight. Literary techniques and structure. 1. Framed narrative. The story begins with a faux document that provides historical context. This technique adds verisimilitude, making the story feel like an archival discovery. It also distances the reader from the truth, emphasizing the fictionality of truth itself. 2. Philosophical fiction. The plot is structured around a philosophical revelation, not character growth. The climax is not the murder itself, but Albert's explanation of Sui Pen's concept of time. Borges fuses narrative with metaphysics, creating a hybrid genre. 3. Irony and paradox. The story is steeped in irony. A philosopher is murdered to send a message. A chaotic novel is the most ordered structure imaginable. A spy story becomes a meditation on eternity. These paradoxes enrich the text, revealing layers of meaning and interpretation. Influence and legacy. Borges's story has had a profound impact on postmodern literature, science fiction, and philosophy. Its influence can be seen in Italo Calvino's If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, Umberto Eco's The Name of the Rose, cybertext and interactive fiction, multiverse theory in physics, modern film and TV, Inception, Dark, Everything Everywhere All at Once. It anticipated nonlinear storytelling, parallel realities, and reader-generated meaning, making Borges a foundational figure in literary theory and speculative fiction. Conclusion. The Garden of Forking Paths is not merely a spy story. It is a philosophical labyrinth, a meditation on time, narrative, and identity. In its mere few pages, Borges explores infinite realities, challenges our understanding of cause and effect, and constructs a universe where all choices matter because all are enacted. The story's brilliance lies in its structure. A tale that forks like time itself, inviting multiple readings and interpretations. Borges does not just write stories, he builds literary architecture, allowing readers to wander, reflect, and get lost. In the end, The Garden of Forking Paths reminds us that every story, like every life, contains 1,000 forking paths, and that within each choice lies a new world.